Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, today we're going to be looking at a couple of very odd cryptid stories, folks. One, another possible Mothman sighting in Chicago that some people are calling a Batman-like entity. Another, a sighting with this dinosaur-like entity in Russia. Both articles are very interesting, so let's read the first one. Winged humanoids over Albany Park, Chicago residents report new Batman encounter. Let's get in this article and also look at the sketch that basically accompanies it. Just after 10:30 p.m. on July 29th, 2025, two Chicago residents witnessed something gliding silently over Wilson and Campbell's intersection in the Albany Park Lincoln Square area, described as a massive dark bat-like form with an 8-foot wingspan. The sighting adds another chapter to the city's long and unsettling wave of Batman or winged humanoid reports. What began as a moment of curiosity soon turned into an eerie realization that this was no ordinary creature of the night. Hi, I noticed that you are keeping a timeline of Batman sightings in Chicago. My friend and I observed something unusual in the Albany Park Lincoln Square area about half an hour ago, July 29th at 10:30 p.m. Central, and we're unsure of who to report it to. We saw a large black shape gliding high over Wilson Campbell intersection. We viewed it from my balcony, which is about a half a mile north of that location. The sighting lasted for about 2 minutes before it disappeared into the clouds, heading south. At first, I thought it might be a bat, but it was far too large, although it was challenging to estimate its size from that distance. I would guess it had an approximate wingspan of 8 feet. We're quite spooked by this experience. Please let me know if you have any advice on who we should report this to. Thanks, AJ. That was a certainly interesting story, folks. Though I will say, even AJ himself says he only estimated how big this creature could be. So it could be that he maybe misjudged exactly how big it was, and maybe it was just a regular bat or something similar he saw. But considering all the other sightings that have been taking place in Chicago and the surrounding area, folks, that involve Mothman or owl or even bat-like cryptids like this, folks. So a Batman like this isn't that surprising. Now, here's a sketch done by the witness, folks. And as you can see, it sort of looks also like basically a flying manta ray from the, sketch here, folks. So maybe that's what he saw. But to be more exact, maybe it was a manta ray UFO that AJ saw, folks. But we can talk about that more later after we finish this article. There's commentary that came with it as well. This account lines with the behavioral and visual patterns consistent with dozens of prior Chicago Batman or winged humanoid sightings, particularly those reported in late summer near major transit corridors. The Albany Park location lies just northwest of the core cluster that extends toward O'Hare International Airport, an active hotspot for similar reports since 2017. The emotional tone reflects a mix of astonishment and unease, with the witness expressing genuine fear rather than excitement. The 2-minute duration and altitude described suggests gliding rather than powered flight, possibly indicating strong thermal or energetic lift. There are several potential interpretations: a biological cryptid with aerodynamic adaptation, interdimensional manifestation tied to magnetic or energetic anomalies, or an ultra-terrestrial entity operating within the same frequency band observed in prior O'Hare and Lake Michigan cases. This sighting strengthens the argument for a sustained presence of these beings across Chicago's north side, possibly following a defined migratory or energetic route. Is exactly what is happening here, folks. Maybe these things are, migrating through this area, or maybe they're drawn to it for some odd reason that we can only just guess at here, folks. But whatever it is, people are seeing these cryptids, and especially around the International O'Hare Airport in Chicago. At least that's where basically it seemed to have started here, folks, back in 2017. But the phenomenon has basically spread throughout Chicago and Illinois and to some of the surrounding states around there as well. So whatever it is that's drawing these entities to Chicago, it seems to basically be increasing because the sightings are just continuing to multiply, folks. So very intriguing. Once again, I have to say that, folks. Either way, let's move on to the next article. Giant odd-shaped bird-like creature crosses road near Murmansk, Russia. Let's read this account of what could possibly be a dinosaur sign, folks, or maybe a sign of something like a terror bird. You know, the long-extinct giant carnivorous birds that used to feed on humans, folks. Let's read on and find out. On a bright summer evening near Murmansk, two men experienced something that defied all logic. What began as an ordinary drive through the Siberian countryside became a shocking brush with a towering, prehistoric-looking creature unlike anything known to modern science. Location near Murmansk, Siberia, Russia. Date, time, summer 1995, approximately 8:30 p.m. Two men were driving along a local road outside of Murmansk. Although it was evening, the northern latitude kept the sky light. The road was about 4 meters wide, paved with asphalt, and bordered by a tall cane fields. On both sides, it ran straight for a long distance, providing excellent visibility. Suddenly, at a distance of about 15 to 20 meters ahead, the men saw a strange creature running across the road. The being looked bird-like and appeared to be enormous. It had long legs, roughly 2 meters in length, dark feathers running along its back, and an oddly shaped body. The witnesses could not make out any additional details, but noted that the strange bird moved more like a running reptile than a bird. They stopped the car, but it was useless to search for the entity amid the dense cane fields. Later, one of the men, while reading a book about dinosaurs, came across an illustration that matched almost exactly what he and his companion had seen. The image was later identified as a dinosaur from the order Ornithischia. Local naturalists confirmed that no known animal fitting this description inhabited the region. Source: local investigator. So, whatever this entity was, it sounds like it was a dinosaur, folks. Or maybe, as I said earlier, maybe it was related to maybe a terror bird. You know, there are living examples of terror birds. Well, sort of, like the ostrich and the emu, folks, who I'm pretty sure are related to the terror bird. At least I think the emu is related to some extent to the terror birds. But that beggars the question, folks, that maybe what the witnesses saw was an emu or an ostrich, perhaps, but we can't be for sure. Either way, we can decide that after we read through the rest of the article, so let's read on. This case stands out for its remarkable description of a large, flightless, bird-like cryptid seen in broad daylight under favorable conditions. The witnesses' comparison to an ornithischian dinosaur is particularly striking, as this order included beaked herbivorous species often thought to walk erect on powerful hind legs mirroring the 2-meter-long limbs described. Murmansk and the Greater Kola Peninsula have a history of anomalous wildlife reports, including avian cryptids and unidentified bipedal creatures. Given the tundra terrain, sparse population, and vast reed-covered wetlands, it's plausible that transient or interdimensional entities could manifest unnoticed in these remote areas. The witnesses' references to dark feathers might alternatively suggest filamentous proto-feathers, aligning with paleontological reconstructions of late Cretaceous species. No physical evidence was recovered. However, the clarity of observation, corroboration between two witnesses, and the absence of known fauna in the region lend this report high credibility. This event remains one of the most intriguing Siberian cryptid encounters of the 1990s and warrants comparison with similar prehistoric bird or living dinosaur sightings reported across northern Eurasia. So what was this entity, folks? Was it really a living dinosaur or not? Now, could it have been maybe a clone, perhaps? Maybe escaped from a lab? I mean, this was in 1995, folks. So maybe, but I kind of doubt that, folks. If anything, I think that this was some sort of misidentification, folks. That this bird was maybe an escaped emu or ostrich from some sort of animal enclosure, perhaps. Maybe some rich guy, owned this animal. Maybe it was suffering from something similar to mange, so maybe its feathers were somehow altered, or maybe this guy, or whoever owned this animal, somehow altered this animal in some odd way, so identifying this animal as basically as an actual emu or ostrich, nearly impossible. Perhaps it was deformed, perhaps maybe it was owned and maybe released into the wild because the guy who owned it didn't want it anymore because, as I said, maybe it was malformed or deformed in some odd manner, folks. I can't be for sure. Now, what about the first story, folks, that we read about today with this Batman-like entity, folks? Now, we've heard of other Batman-like entities before, folks, and the fact that they're also being seen again is rather telling that whatever's going in, Chicago is attracting all manner of cryptids like this. Either way, now, folks, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure to hit part of the bell. That'll give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.